Previously on Green Matters.
Due to the fact that we spent so much time together, I think everyone was already expecting it, right, when I introduced
Right.
to everyone. So, yeah, my family was very supportive. My dad was very supportive.
Who received Lobola? Bridal price? Where did you take out the bridal price and how was the process?
I wouldn't say that he was a different race necessarily was a big issue for me, but a different continent and different country was, because it's not my home country.
The way the wedding was handled, is that how American weddings are handled? Or it was totally different?
Yeah, it was very different, I think. In some ways, like, your lovely wife was my matron.
Yes.
So in some ways, it's similar, like a matron kind of takes the role of a wedding planner or organizer. So it's a little bit similar in that aspect, but it's more of a formal, you maybe don't have a personal relationship with the wedding planner and things like that. And yeah, there's just a lot of things that were different, and different aspects, like Zesco wasn't working when we had our reception, so there couldn't be music, and
As
things
usual.
like that. That wouldn't have happened.
I'm telling you, Zesco is anointed for that. They just anointed. They know how to frustrate you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so just, things like that. It is different the way, I guess, like, for example, you sign the documents here at the wedding. We don't do that in the States.
Okay.
You maybe sign it after, and you send it in, and that's not a part of the ceremony.
Right.
Dancing isn't a huge part of a wedding. Dancing just, like, casually, but not as the lineup, is not part of a wedding in America, and just things like that, so.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Emmy, how stressful was your wedding in the Zambian culture?
There were definitely some stressful moments, but I think probably the hardest part for me was, if I were getting married in the U.S., like, my mom and my sister would have been helping me plan a lot of it. And so I'm grateful that Chris's family, and especially his sister, stepped in a lot. But she was in Lusaka. So a lot of it, honestly, was Chris and I were on the ground doing a lot of the stuff. We were going and booking the reception. We were going and booking all the different things. And, I feel like that time is like such a blur. But I remember, like, almost every weekend for a long time, we were, like, at the matron's house doing, like, just observing everyone, practice their dancing, which was a fun season. It was just really busy. I think any time that you're getting married, it's just busy, and you're constantly running up and down, and, we have to figure out the cars, and we have to figure out all of this. And so I think that was probably the most stressful thing. And just, I'm trying to remember, did you think of anything that was big, stressful? I don't think so. I mean, it was just, once you figured out, like, are we going to have family cooking, or, we were going to have catering? Like, once we made those decisions, it was fine. It's just a lot of decision making, which is hard in any culture and for any couple, I would imagine.
All right.
So, yeah.
Now, when you are approaching your in-laws, were you required to kneel according to our culture?
Perhaps I probably would have been, but like I said, his family is not very traditional, so thankfully they've never made me do that. I mean, I try as much as possible. Like, I'll ask him, like, how should I greet this person? How should I do this? And he'll just say, don't worry about it. Like,
I need to talk to them.
So, yes, but I don't know. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like, for the most part, like, I try to make sure, like, I'm saying, like, Bamulamu, like, I talk to them like that, and that sort of stuff, Mangba Pongosh, and that sort of stuff. But I don't think they were ever like, you have to do this.
How is your communication with your in-laws, especially your mother? Is your mother still alive?
No.
Just your dad. Okay, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because if it was the mother who was still alive, then it was going to be more, you get a little more close to her, and then you have to know how to follow through those things. Let me come to Owen. Owen, your mom is alive?
No.
She's not. Okay, so then this one is not going to help me, because it is at that level, that's where you encounter a lot of difficulties.
I think, Pastor, because my aunt, traditionally in Zambian culture, whom I would call my mom,
yes,
she's still alive, and I mean, she's the one, who, and her brother who really stood for me, as my parents and stuff like that. So I think when it comes to, like her relating with her,
Yes.
of course, I mean, some traditions, would come in and here and there and stuff like that. But of course, she doesn't want to like to be so strong, and hard and stuff like that. But still, just that traditional thing in her, still, calm, stand out,
Definitely.
stuff like that.
Definitely.
No, so even when we visit, she's open, she's free, she loves my wife and stuff like that. But of course, at times, you would see that she really doesn't really want to, like
Wapongosh.
really, because wapongosh and things like that. So you could see that. So
Right. It's kind of
exactly. Even when we are eating, we are not. She's not going to like eat with us and stuff like that.
Right.
Let others join in and stuff like
Yes.
that. So because she's still, carrying herself, trying to respect her as a Zambian, wapongoshi and all that. So she does do that and stuff like that, but she doesn't expect, like her
Going
to
to
be
the-
much of, like
Yes.
leading and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's me who've wisely, maybe if I can put it in this way, advise my wife to say, what you've been taught and what you've been, hearing, and learning, about Zambian culture and stuff like that. You still need to apply it, here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can get away with certain things when we are just the two of us at home and stuff.
Right.
But certain things, you try, to,
Yes.
So, when we go, visit her, she will kneel, she will greet, she will do all those things and stuff like that. So I know, even though my aunt, my mom, I would say, she wouldn't like expect, I want her to be doing this and that. But I am sure deep down in her heart, she's kind of like,
She feels
feeling
good.
she feels good, respected and stuff like that.
Right.
So it comes out, it plays out. But I've tried to help my family understand to say, of course, if she doesn't do it, the best as you expect, understand, because she's not Zambian, but she's learning and working hard, to do that.
Andrea, now you are married. There is this cultural differences and cultural problems that would come up. Definitely, you have married someone of a different culture than yours. How has it been? I know sometimes it can get to the maximum of what you can tolerate and stuff like that. Just here is a Chipata boy, an Eastern Province boy. To him, marriage is in the Chipata context, and here is a woman from Indiana. Marriage is in an Indiana context. So how has that been? How have you been able to harmonize the two cultures and be able to accept some of the things that would be quite annoying to you? And of course, it's vice versa and so on. How has it been for you?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not easy, and I'd say we're still learning. We've been married 3 years now, so we still have a long way to go. But I think, first of all, we knew what we were getting into in that situation, that we're marrying someone different than me, and I think one of the things right after, it may have even been you or someone in the marriage counseling mentioned that the first miracle in the Bible is at the wedding.
Yes.
So wedding at Cana. And so then in John, the next chapter, Jesus goes into the temple and starts throwing everything out. And I feel like that's one of the beauties of marriage in general, but also especially in a cross-cultural relationship. It's it's a sanctifying process. So what's comfortable for me in my culture is getting kind of thrown out and making me more refined into the image of Christ, and I think also for my husband. So that has been a beauty of it. It's definitely doesn't feel good at times, but we also have been able to, I think, embrace the other culture to a certain extent, and that's our goal, to accept one another and accept the cultures that we come from. And we've also got, before we even were engaged, we met with another multicultural couple. He's Zambian and she's American, and got a lot of advice from them on how to maneuver through some things. And so that's been very helpful as well, I'd say. Yeah.
In addition, Pastor, can I just
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, explained it all, and in addition to what she's mentioned, I would want also to say that our goal has been to live Christian. You know, our marriage should be Christian. Not Zambian, not American,
All right.
but Christian.
Right.
Because we are Christians.
Right.
So we want to really work hard to live by the standards of, Christian marriage, what God demands, of us. So that has been our goal. Of course, it's not easy. You go through a lot. It's like one man said, it's like sandy, two sandy papers, when they are rough, but when they start, rubbing each other, you feel and hear the friction and stuff like that. But over time, they smoothen each other, and then, So I think that's has been our goal. But of course, we cannot play a blind eye or ear to, or a deaf ear to, like the culture where she's coming from.
Yes.
The culture where I'm coming from. I learned something also from a certain man of God. He said that it's not every Bishop Chewe from, I think, Trans Africa. He mentioned that, it's not every culture that is bad. When you weigh your culture in the context or in the light of the scripture, whatever falls down is what you leave out. What stands, you move on with it.
Right.
Because that makes you and defines who you are as a Zambian or as an American.
Right.
So it's only those things that do not conflict, with the Bible. They are the ones that we move on. They are the ones we harmonize in our family, in our marriage. So at time today, would cook, in Shima. At time, would eat, American meal and stuff like that. So that's how we harmonize. Wow. So that's, our goal. Because if we kind of more of like, like typical, just changing everything to be, American and stuff like that, my culture, will be deprived. If we just, just because we are in Zambia, you have married, a Zambian man, so you just have to dance to every tune of Zambia, then we are deprived, of our culture. So we can harmonize those things
Find a good balance between.
Exactly, a good
right.
balance. But our main goal is to live
According to God's
according
culture.
to God's culture, because we
Okay.
are Christian.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's interesting. For you guys, maybe the same question. How have you managed to handle one another culturally because you are dealing again a Chipata boy? And I've just discovered that these guys from Eastern Province are very courageous for white women. How has it been, Chris, living with someone who thinks very different from the way you do, someone who believes in things that are very different from the way you do, someone who sees things in a totally different world than you do? How has it been for you?
I think I'll start from the beginning before
Yes.
I get to the
Right.
actual answer. And I think for us, what I can say is, even before we got married, we realized this would be something that we would have to deal with,
Right.
because we are different people coming from different cultures, and obviously we're going to do things a whole lot different. And you see it in the little things, you see it in the big things. But one thing we agreed upon was our house or our home was going to be a Jesus culture kind of a house.
Wonderful.
Similar to the
Wonderful, the
yeah,
Puris.
similar to the Piris. And not necessarily saying the Zambian culture we do away with or the American culture we do away with, but
Yes.
find a common ground where you
Right.
can use some of the things that are in Zambian culture
Yes.
and some of the things that are in American culture and fuse them together. Because obviously that's something that we cannot deny and say we're not going to live by these things. Because the Zambian culture has good things and it also has bad things. The American culture has good things and also bad things.
Right.
But it's the good that you
Right.
take from and you do run with those things. So that's something that we really agreed upon
Okay.
even before we got married. Of course, there will be so many differences. Like we laugh at times. There's a show that we watch, and there's there's a part where, you know, there's a white family and a black family, and the black family realizes that white people do not use washcloths whenever they do take a bath. So it's something we laugh about. So there are little things like that. And it's just funny because those are differences, but we shouldn't let minor things like that,
Right,
you know, bring
right.
division or cause us to head in a direction that we are not supposed to head in.
Okay, you want to add something to that, or you're good?
I was just gonna say, it's a learning process for anyone, and I mean that's true of any marriage. But there's things that you're gonna learn, like, oh, I've always done it this way. You do it differently than me. Explain to me why you do it that way. And so if it's something that isn't a big deal, then it's like, oh, well, fine, we'll do it whichever way. But if it's something that really bothers him, for example, like, oh, in Zambia, we laugh about this a lot with my interview, because it's like, there in Zambia, it's very important. These things are used for the bathroom. These things are used for the kitchen, and you can never shall they pass the door frame of the bathroom or those things. And things like that maybe don't make sense to an American. We wouldn't even think about it, but things like that obviously I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it the Zambia way because it's important to you. So and it's not that big of a deal to me. So just teach me. So there's a lot of things like that it'll come up and be like, okay, I don't understand why it's that way. Can you explain it to me? And then when he makes sense, he's like, oh, okay. Or when I would hear noises outside at night, I would lift the window or look outside, and he'd be like, don't ever do that. So things like that I'm just, we're just learning. And, so when we were in the U.S. or, things that comes up that, are different in the U.S., he'll be like, well, why do it that way? And so I'll explain. And then, it just makes sense and it's helpful to each other. So it's always a process of if you don't understand, don't just keep doing it the way you don't understand, but ask why and just every marriage, it's all about communication.
You lead me to something important. I was going to come to this communication because already, even if you married someone of your culture, your race, issues of communication are very important. And yet you have so many similarities between you. But for you guys, you are very diverse. So communication, I believe, has to be at a very high level. But I don't know how American men are, but I think men are men. Zambian men are bad communicators. Bad communicators. How has that been an issue? Because men generally, I want to believe even white men, don't like talking most of the times. They're just men, you know what I'm talking about. I don't care. But your case, there must be very, very good communication. There are things you don't understand in his culture. There are things that he doesn't understand in your culture. So you have to explain. You gotta explain. So how has communication been a challenge in your relationship?
I wouldn't say that it's been necessarily a challenge, but just something that we've had to learn. If there's ever, like you said, as men, sometimes they don't like to communicate, and I've had to learn this about Chris. There's just days where if something, upsets him or he definitely tends to want to just kind of be on his own or think about it in a while, go listen to his music or whatever. And me as a girl, I'm just like, are you okay? Are you okay? Right. And he clearly he's not okay, and he'll be like, yes. And exactly. And I know, exactly. You're not okay. I think later he'll come up and be like, actually, I wasn't okay. This is what was going on in my head. I just wasn't ready to talk about it. But, me as a woman, I'm just like, I just want to know. I just want to talk about it. Let's get it out and air it. And he's just not there yet. So, again, that's not necessarily because he's Zambian and I'm American. It's probably more, yes, like you're saying, man and woman, or just Chris's personality in general. Or, talking more about the cultural things. If there's something, if there's ever an instance where I do something, sometimes I get into the habit of afterwards, after an interaction with, maybe a group, I'll say, did I do something in that situation that
yes,
was not okay, especially culturally? Did I offend someone in that situation? I want to know.
Right.
And I want to give him that opportunity to tell me. Because I'm sure it's hard for him. It's awkward. She doesn't really understand why she offended her. Maybe I shouldn't bring it up. but I want to give him that position because I do want to learn. I want to be able to give him that opportunity to share with me if I did something that wasn't okay or that was offensive. So I would say those are kind of things that have come up, you know, in the communication.
Again, before you pass the microphone, I want to, of course, this is very, very true. Your guys, your Americans and so on, you have no problem to say no to something. You have no problem to say yes to something. And you are very clear about that. But in our culture, we try to, yes. But you know, it's supposed to be a no. How do you handle such matters with him?
That's funny that I feel like we just recently talked about this. Like just
Right.
the whole, yes, it is.
'Cause you have to-
It is a very different
got
thing
to
in
push
American
him a
culture.
little
I
bit
feel
to
like
get-
American culture, where like, if I can't do something, I will definitely say no. I won't say, oh, maybe, or I'll get around to it. And so it's just something that as a family, have had to discuss. Like, you know, we have to, not that our way is the best, but, you know, maybe we should get better about if we know we can do something, let's say it. If we know we can't do something, like, let's say it. Why would we kind of give false hope or whatever? And so there's, you know, been things that we've tried to, I'm trying to think of, I can't think of a specific situation that would come up, but I do know that there is that difference between Americans and Zambians of like, we just kind of want to be straight.
Be straight, yes.
And Zambians kind of tend to be
Nice.
more nice about it. But then again, my personality too is also a little bit more nice about it too, so I tend to be a little Zambian in that too. So I think both of us are trying to grow in that area of being okay with saying no, or, you know, letting someone down if we have to, but just being able to we can't always say yes to everyone or please everyone, and we have to decide what we as a family can do and say yes to. So.
How good are you with time management?
I am worse than him. In that situation, I am Zambian and he is American, 100%. If the Zimbas are ever late to anything, it is my fault, not the Zambian. Let's just be honest about that. I will take the blame.
Great.
So I think that's more of the woman thing versus man. So
Right.
yeah, no, he's like very punctual all the time, and I am not. So
You're my friend. Andrea, how good is Owen with time?
He's better than me also.
Are you guys Americans or what?
No.
Let me say this, Pastor. I coined up a joke. I've been saying that actually I thought, you know, when they say, you know, Americans are time oriented and stuff like that, you know, and then Africans they are more, social. As long as something, is
Our time doesn't function here.
exactly, yeah. As long as something, happens and stuff like that. So, but now, marrying an American, I was like, I think that thing is all about just men, not women. Women just like, because even here in Zambia,
Regardless of where they are.
exactly. So whether white or black, yellow or green, or regardless of the race, women, when it comes to time,
They're women.
they are women. Of course, Americans, so they'll be a little bit more, better than
us.
Africans. But women with time, just,
They're just women. Because of makeup. Yes.
we've had to adjust. That's us, adapting to Zambian culture.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
At the time these guys were marrying, you had already adapted to the subject, and then they want to take you back. You wanted to say something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe only on the communication thing.
Yeah,
you're
I was going to
talking
come to
about.
communication. How has communication been a challenge for you guys?
Yeah, I think everything, what the Zimba said, maybe it's been a bigger challenge for us than them. But,
Right.
I think one of the hardest parts is even if you're using the same English word, it has different meanings to us sometimes.
Yes.
Like, for example, the phrase, oh, I don't care, to an American is, oh, you choose. I don't, it's
of
fine.
course, no offense.
But yeah, but to him, it's like sarcastic. Like, I don't
Yes.
care, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that's just an example of things
Yes.
where I think this means something, and so it takes a while to realize we're having different understandings because it's a word that we understand, but we look at it differently.
Even
So-
jokes sometimes.
Yes, jokes are a lot different. Thankfully, he still makes me laugh a lot, but sometimes I tell him, Like when we're in America, don't tell that joke or don't. You know. So yes, there's different ways of viewing things, and so that's where communication. You think you communicated clearly because the word was understood, but the meaning wasn't understood. You know, so that's where can get tripped up easily as a cross-cultural relationship.
Andrea, the issue of submission. Us here in Zambia, we rub it in. How has that been with you? Because sometimes you may feel like this guy's demanding too much. How has that been for you?
Well, thankfully the word is clear on that, so that's helped me a lot, that it's not just a Zambian cultural thing, it's a biblical thing. And it's something that American culture, the American culture has really fallen away from a lot. And so I have as well. And the way I've seen couples communicate growing up is different, you know, than the way a woman treats a man here. And so it has been a challenge, you know, thankfully, not always in the nicest way, but
I know.
I've been told.
Yes.
And he also isn't like demanding, you know, like woman, you know, but he expresses that he feels that I haven't respected him and I haven't submitted to him in certain areas.
Wow.
And because of the Lord and our relationship, I can acknowledge that that's true. It's not just a control thing that he's trying, as a cultural thing that he's trying to implement. Yeah.
Does he bully you?
No.
He's a nice guy.
He is.
Last time I checked, he was.
He can get upset, but he's a nice guy.
Okay. Yes, please.
I think, I mean, on the last question, I think, so...
On bullying?
I mean, yes, on bullying.
Okay, yes.
So, I mean, I don't bully her, but what I would say is, with me, I mean, my voice is high. I mean,
Yes.
I would start slow and then...
But
then-
even slow,
Exactly.
it's very...
Yeah, then
yes.
it's not gets up and stuff. So that's one area, you know, I'm trying to like really
Work on.
work hard on, so that when we are just talking, my voice is not just like up. In our family, that's how we are.
Yeah.
And
Are you brothers with Night?
it's just my relative, my cousin, tribal. I mean, with my cousins, I heard of a story that at some point, actually I heard it from a certain uncle, he's late by now. He was telling a story that my cousins were talking. They were just like chatting because maybe, I think maybe a friend came, you know, whom they had seen for a long time. So they started like laughing, talking, and people came. They thought that, you know, they were fighting. And yet they were just talking. They found them, you know, laughing and stuff like that. So our voices in our family are kind of like high. So even when you're trying like to express yourself and stuff like that, you know, it will just be kind of like high. So it's one thing that, again, I know that that's how I am, but it's something that, you know, I need to like really
Work on.
you know, so that at least even when you're talking, you know, just like tone my voice down and stuff, you know. And am I doing fine so far, Annie? Or
There's room for improvement. But he's trying.
He's trying.
Yes.
Next on Greenroom Matters.
Have you, of course you're going to answer individually and I'll also come to the Zimbas. Have you ever suffered what I would call probably racial abuse?
We really don't wait for a big romantic gesture for us to feel like we are still in love, and we just take everyday things and make them romantic.
Zambia in particular, I feel like has been very welcoming of me. I feel accepted by his family, by, you know, our church, by Zambia in general, and sometimes I don't even think about the fact that we're different, you know, because I'm used to it now.